everybody. So I wanted to do a video. I wanted to show, I had some people asking me about, you know, cutting down trees when your bar's not quite as long as the tree. So I wanted to demonstrate. I got this Lombardy poplar. We just brushed this thing out, and I'm just gonna follow the stick right here. The guys are in the truck eating lunch, and I want to show you how I go about dropping trees and sticks when the bar is too short. So we're going to talk about, you know, how to fall sticks or trees when the bar is shorter than the tree is. So I just measured this. This is 45 inches in diameter. My bar is 32 inches, but then I've also got these dogs, so it's more like 30 inches or maybe a little less actual length of the bar. But basically I'm going to demonstrate. Now, when you do this, you have two options. You can either, you know, cut this side and get to where you want to be, and then you can come over here and you can try to cut and match it up. But the problem with doing that is it's really hard to visualize the inside of the tree. It's hard to know exactly where the bar is and where that plane of wood stands when you do it from both sides. So the way that I learned when I went to that tree felling school, you can check that video out. I went there with Jed, and the idea of it is pretty simple. I'm gonna stand over here, and basically I'm gonna get cut in, and I'm going to aim while standing on one side, and I'm gonna start my undercut all from one side, and I'll show you, and then I'm gonna basically cut a big chunk of wood out the middle. I'm gonna bore the middle out, and I'm just gonna use that first cut as, you know, as my sight. I'm not gonna really aim the tree from that direction at all. So one of the other first things you want to do, you want to go around, remove any protrusions. So like I'll cut this flare off, and then I'll make it, the more you can trim off the sides, it'll get a little easier to cut the tree. So I'm going to start this right here. What a nasty tree. So already by doing that, I've simplified my job. Now I don't have to deal with that. Those big bulges, they're hard to deal with your dogs, and I just reduced the diameter of the tree quite a bit doing that. So I'm gonna do a Humboldt notch, and I'm gonna do that because on trees of really large diameter, it's easier to get the face cut out that way. You could do this same method with a conventional, but I'm just gonna do it the Humboldt because that's the way that I usually cut it. So you'll see I'm gonna start my cut, I'll get aimed, and well, you'll see. All right, so there are my gunning sights, and I'm just aiming right there. I can't be too, I gotta make sure I don't hit that road. That'll for sure break it. So anyways, I'm aimed in the right spot, and if you come around here, you see, look at how much more tree I have over there that I haven't hit yet. So this is where I used to just walk to the other side and start from that side too, but like I said, it's really hard to gauge where exactly that kerf is inside the interior of the tree. So now I'm gonna start my undercut, because this is where I made, ooh, look at that bug. So, and also, I'm about a third of the way in, about a third of diameter is the rule of thumb, and no reason to deviate from that. So here, I'm gonna get the other part of this first half of the face out. Okay, so now I've got one chunk of wood out, and you'll notice I know that I'm way short. I need to take way more out, but you know, I like to start short because we can always cut more, but we can't put it back. So when you're doing this, especially when you're double cutting, oh, by the way, this is called double cutting from both sides, it's way better to take it short because you can always take more wood. But if I do my, you know, my angled cut and I'm too steep, then it's totally gonna, if I go too deep, it's gonna totally mess up my face. So I'm gonna take a little more off this front. Also, if you start and you know you're short, just finish. Just take that little chunk of wood out rather than trying to start over, because then you'll end up with a whole, you know, a million cuts in here. You're way better off just, if you know you're short, just take it out, start again. Let's take some more wood out of this thing. I'm gonna bore some of this wood out, just get a little more wood out. The idea is we want to keep that first cut I did, that one we want to stay the same, and we're basically just chiseling away wood here, trying to maintain that line, but get the bulk of this wood out. All right. And see, you can see and so you see this isn't pretty yet, but I'm still working on it. I've still got a lot of a Dutchman. That's where that first cut is deeper than the second. This isn't pretty yet, and it's not gonna be for a while, because like I said, I'm just nibbling away at this thing. I actually don't want to try to get this all in my first go, because like I said, I really want to maintain that first line, because that's my gunning sight, that's where I'm aimed. So I got a chunk of wood out. You don't need to worry about this line right here. That's just me, you know, getting this line out. It's not gonna affect anything because it's just the stump. So it doesn't matter if I cut into this. All the action's happening on the hinge wood. Anyways, so now I'm just gonna keep chiseling away at this thing. And you'll notice intermittently I keep putting my saw back in there, and that's because I'm measuring the depth of my Dutchman. So see, I want to just keep putting in there, that way I know how much more wood I got to take out. So not too much. I'm gonna start chiseling away at this, and then I'll clean up that Dutchman. I'm not gonna leave any of that. I'm chasing that tip, but I'm keeping my, you know, I'm trying to nibble a little more with my tip, but I always keep the plane of my bar flat against the plane of this face cut right here. So now I'm gonna go to the other side, take a little more wood out. And you see, now that I've got the bulk of this face out, I can see what I'm doing here. I don't have to, you know, I don't have to try to imagine where the kerf is inside I can see inside this tree because I took this front corner out. So now I'm just gonna watch this, keep taking wood out of here, and then like I said, just get the bulk of the wood out, and then we tidy it up at the end. keep chiseling away at this wood. I know it's not pretty yet, but take your time on this stuff. There's no reason to try to get it all in your first shot, you know? Just keep whittling away, you know? This is all ugly, but that line deep in the tree right there is what we want. So now we're just trying to get the rest of the face to match that. So here we go, can you see that? So here's the end of my cut right here. You can see I'm lined up with that corner. So this side's done. And this is where I'm aiming. I never looked at my sights over there. Now I just gotta go clean up that corner to make that match this one. Gonna chisel this away with my axe. All right. So functionally, the face cut is done. There are just some rough edges. I'm gonna clean those up just to be safe. But basically, we're aimed where we are, so I'm gonna tidy this up and then look one more time. All right, so my face is done. You see, now I put my saw in here and I'm aiming at the same spot. And I was able to make sure that my wood was consistent in there. I do have a tiny little kerf right there, but up in the top of the log, that's not a big deal. The tree's good. It's ready for the back cut. I'm gonna fill up my saw just to make sure. I don't want to run out of gas on the back cut, so yeah, let me fill it up. All right, so now we're gonna do the back cut. And with this, because it's on flat ground and I wanna be careful, I'm gonna be walking back and forth a lot to try to make that hinge wood as even as possible when it goes over. If I were working on a hill or something, I would wanna cut one side all the way up to the hinge. So I knew that I wouldn't have to go back over to that side, and then I'd wanna come up to the other side and cut that. Like I said, it's pretty level ground. I'm gonna go back and forth a lot. I wanna make sure your bar is nice and level. And the thing too about the back cut, I'll show you. You know, you want to just get it in there a tiny bit and then take a good look at your wood. You really only get one shot on the back cut, you know? So I want to look at that. I'm a little low. I'm going to try this again. All right, that's a little better. It's probably not perfect, but it's good enough. It's really hard to get these perfect. I'm still a little low. So I had to do that a few times. You see these little cuts? These are just little tiny marks in the bark, because you remember I didn't cut in that deep. This isn't really that big of a deal. If I were to cut a lot and then try to restart, this would really be a nightmare for my wedges. So you really only get one shot at the back cut. try your best to get it lined up. If you've got somebody spotting you, you know, they can help you too, but this should be good enough. A couple more tips. If you want to try to imagine where your bar is inside the tree, when you're dogging in, it's a little bit of an optical illusion. You can pull your bar out. So say I had to guess where my bar was. Well, if you pull the bar out, it gives you, and you look down, it gives you a better idea of where you are inside the cut. Another thing that'll mess you up a lot too is if your chain is dull and you're twerking on your saw a bunch or tweaking on your saw a bunch, that can cause your bar to do all kinds of funny stuff. So try to keep it sharp. Try not to move it up and down. Just try to hold it in place. About as far as I can go over there, maybe even a little too far. Now I'm going to come finish my cut over here. There you go. Yeah, you're good. So see, I went a little too deep right here. Started cutting into my hinge in the center. The corners are more important, but this is still suboptimal. Ideally, you'd end up with a really consistent strip, but if you guys have ever tried to film this stuff, you know it's your worst work is always whatever's on camera. It's really hard to get this stuff perfect, but you know, we did our best, and this could have been done way faster. I could have just went in for it. I could have used a longer bar, really. That's the best. If you have a long bar, you should use it. It just makes it easier. But when you don't have one, that's what you can do. So I still got a bit of holding wood there. Thin strip. Your corners are important. Look at all that dirt. Wow. So anyways, that's the concept of it. Get one side aimed, get the bulk of the wood out, try to match that corner according to this, try to be consistent and level on your back cut. See, we were pretty level, but you know, we took our time. I really took my time on the face, took my time on the back cut, you know, really trying to get as perfect as possible. They're rarely going to be perfect, but you try to get it as close as you can, and then, you know, the more time, you know, take your time, don't rush. If you try to rush, it'll go terribly. Everything does. So take your time. Hopefully that helped, and that's how you do the double cut. So I hope if you like that, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.